Resuming debate, the honourable member for Edmonton Centre.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. And I rise in this House today to speak to the Opposition Day motion. And before I get into the specifics on economic recovery, I'd like this time to reach out and say thank you to the many members of all parties and Canadians at large who have supported my family and I through the passing of my son, Garrett Cumming. Now, Garrett had an extraordinary life, 35 years on this planet. I'm extraordinarily proud of him. Garrett was like many at-risk Canadians. He spent the last year very isolated. His struggles demonstrated the incredible importance of our work in this place and the importance of getting things back to normal as soon as possible. Thank you again. Now, we must all recognize there's no feasible way that we as a country can make any kind of significant recovery without addressing and conquering this health crisis. Small business will continue to flounder until they're forced to finally close their doors. New graduates who want to get a job will find applications unfilled. Single-parent households will have this $2,000 check, but they really want to get back to work to support their companies or support their families. Sending out money to act as a crutch for individuals and businesses was needed to keep Canadians afloat, but it's simply not sustainable. We need to have strategies to plan to protect the compromise and get the economy back on track. Spending to protect Canadians in the pandemic was the right thing to do, and frankly, Canada's Conservatives supported it. But we cannot pass unsustainable debt onto future generations. Once the recovery starts, we'll need to get our spending under control and grow the economy. Only once we secure the health of Canadians will we be able to begin a meaningful talk on economic recovery. And the answer is not a lifetime of CERB checks or government handouts. It's jobs. It's the dignity that comes with earning a paycheck. It's the freedom that comes from being able to control one's own finances at the moment. Canadians are experiencing joblessness 40% worse than the G7 average. At 8.2%, this means that more than 1.3 million Canadians who are not working and could be working. We need a plan to come out of COVID-19 to create jobs, get our economy back on track, and allow people to earn those paychecks. We can't keep on putting this onto the national credit card. Only jobs will provide Canadians with personal financial security. Jobs allow them to have good child care, education, nutrition, recreation. Jobs produce tax revenue. It helps reduces the government debt and protects our cherished safety net, social safety net. Canada's Conservatives are offering a path, one of security and certainty. It may not be that glamorous, but it will safely secure our future and deliver us to a Canada where those who have struggled the most to get through this pandemic can get back to work. Integral not only to our build back, but equally as important to sustain our country's growth are two metrics that have been falling over the past year: Canada's competitiveness and Canada's innovation. Now, with a country of our size and the sparsity of population, there is no way we can rely just on our internal economy to lead us to recovery. Canada will need massive growth in exports to fuel any kind of recovery. Spending in infrastructure should be predominantly focused on those things that improve productivity, competitiveness, and access to markets. Private sector innovation is what's going to lead us into the future and provide us with the technology we need both to shift to global sustainability and reinstate us as a world economic leader and give the world what they want: more Canada. The President of the United States and the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom both released public plans for their economic reopening, while Canadian officials have yet given Canadians the clarity when regular economic activity and social life will resume. U.S. is our largest trading partner, and yet over a year has passed and we still don't have a reopening strategy for the border. Carlo Day, Director of Trade at the Canada West Foundation, said in 2019, the World Economic Forum's ranking of perception of quality of trade and reliability of trade infrastructure saw Canada drop 22 places to 32 in the globe. Canada fell out of the top 10 ranking of the world's most competitive economies. We have fallen near the bottom of our peer group on innovation. Little interest has been shown on expanding trade and industries which we have a strategic advantage given our abundance. Little mention about mining, forestry sector, agricultural sector, and the resource sector. Now, these are sectors that have proven themselves in the past to drive the economy and contribute significantly to our economic health. Now, the world wants and needs more of our natural resources, and we should think about expanding our market share, not hasten its decline. We need to stop scaring off investment like this government's done since 2015 and start encouraging it again. The most recent example is Chevron Canada, who stopped funding its Kitimat project, and it's not unsurprising that they've had a difficult time trying to get someone to buy their interest. So instead of focusing on party platitudes, we need to get busy and help drive the recovery and get people back to work. If this government wants to focus on rebuilding the economy, they should consider some of the following. Speed up approval for job-creating projects, large and small. The OECD ranks Canada 34th out of 35 countries, the amount of time it takes to obtain a permit for a new general construction project. Now, all three levels of government have to participate in this, and we need to be the quickest to build factories, shopping centers, business parks, mines, and more. We should be removing, not adding, more regulatory burden. We should support the advancement of carbon capture technologies, unlock innovation in the technology sector, focus on the quantity and quality of R&D, greater IP protection and policies that support the retention in Canada, and immigration policies that support the attraction of talent. And of course, we need greater access to offshore markets for our natural resources. Economic recovery cannot be an Ottawa knows best approach where the government picks and chooses which jobs should have and which sector and which region. We cannot have a recovery where only the few get richer while working families get left behind. Specifically, I'd like to recognize this government's failure when it comes to Canadians working in tourism, airline, and hospitality sectors which remain among the hardest hit. Conservatives will take immediate action in those sectors and get people back to work. The tourism industry knows what needs to happen to head into a successful recovery. Across the board, they had stringent measures have already been implemented in an effort to assure that all tourism-related activities are safe and communicated to the public. They know they have to build that confidence in traveling and the risk perception surrounding it. And that's going to determine the speed of this recovery. The Tourism Industry Association of Canada said a plan to replace Canada's current patchwork approach to reacting to daily numbers is overdue. Now, while the government neglected to come up with a plan to innovate tourism and hospitality, we saw fantastic collaboration from the Canadian Airlines and our world-class institutions to provide solutions as the now defunct rapid testing pilot program. This was a great example of a private sector success only to be shut down by the federal government. Ed Sims, the president and CEO of WestJet, stated that countries around the world have taken action to limit or defer costs of the aviation industry, yet our situation remains exacerbated by double-digit increases that are beyond our control. Madam Speaker, at the end of the day, this government has an entire toolbox at their disposal. They have a spending account in excess of $700 billion. They have access to the most educated population on the planet. They have more land than they know what to do with, resource potential beyond compare. They have absolutely everything they ever need to get this country well on its way to recovery, like other countries with much less have done. We need to look at the data and look at science when it comes to recovery, not towards what will make you more electable. We are too small of a country to trade with just ourselves. We have the potential to lift Canadians economically from all corners of this great country. And we have proven industries that can help us build back. Canadians are amazing innovators, and innovation must be part of the solution, but not the only solution. Our country has an incredible amount of potential, and we as Canadians can bounce back if the government allows it. Rather than emerging from this crisis on relying on government checks and handouts, Canadians should trust that they will emerge from this crisis with resilience and all the tools they need to rebuild this great country.
On